Greetings, Mark Orang here, publisher of The Sun. Today my guests are Bobbi Boudman and Dallas Emery. They are competing for District 7 state rep, and joining us is our intrepid reporter, Damon Steer.
And we should say that they're not in the same contest because he's got a Republican primary and she's waiting for the general.
Okay, so a couple things. One, housekeeping, if you hear noise in the background, we had a water break outside the Sun today, so there's an excavator out there. And to set it up a little bit, this is District 7 in the towns of Ossipee, Tuftonboro, and Wolfboro, right?
Correct.
And the reason why it's an open seat and the primary is January 20th, which is next week.
Yes.
Right. So because Glenn Cordelli left, and I guess apparently he's in Texas, and you're a long time state representative for whatever, 3 or 4 terms.
Yes.
And very powerful.
Actually, no, just a couple years because they reworked the districts. He actually was representing Moulton Borough and other towns. When they redistricted, we became part of a flatterial district, District 7.
That's correct.
Thank you for pointing that out. And as Damon started to say that, Bobbi, the primary is next week, but there's nobody competing against you. I mean,
there is not.
There is
that
not.
I know of.
Yeah, no, and that's fine, just
Yes,
so
that's
people can
correct.
understand. And Dallas, on your side, you've got Seamus.
No, because he's dropping out.
Okay, but he's on the ballot.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I
that's
was
the
going
way
to
I
say that. I was going to say, so Seamus O'Callaghy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's on the ballot. He's already endorsed. Okay, so he's on the ballot, but he wants to be not considered. But then there are 2 write-in candidates, and they are Jenna Dancy and Dale Fincher, and so they're writing in, and so I guess the first. Why don't we start off by Dallas? You're on the end. Why don't you just talk about yourself a little bit, just a minute or two?
Well, my name's Dallas Emery. I've been a resident of Ossipee for 26 years, builder. Now, at present, I'm a salesperson for a lumberyard. I've been involved for quite a few years now in local politics. I was on the Ossipee Budget Committee for 4 years. I am currently a zoning board member. We actually had a meeting last night. So, you know, I've been involved with everything in the town. I go to all the meetings. I go to all the planning board meetings, all of the zoning board meetings, all of the budget committee meetings, selectmen's meetings, county commissioner meetings, and the state delegation meetings. I've been to all of them for the past, 5 years. I wasn't interested in this, never wanted to be this at all. But I noticed a lot of things just happen. You know, our country is going the wrong direction, in my opinion, and people aren't involved enough. I decided to get involved, and I told them I was going to stay involved. I actually said it to the delegation that I was going to stay involved, and I've been involved ever since. So I'm a little nervous about this because it's my first time doing this.
That's a great.
So, you know, I'll do my best to give you the best answers I can. Other than that, you know, I'm just trying to do my part for my community and my state.
Okay, that's very good. And I forgot to mention, Dallas, you're a Republican. So all the on that side, all the people we mentioned are Republicans.
Right.
Bobbi, you're the lone Democrat.
As far as Dale and Jenna, I met them both last night. I mean, I commend anybody that wants to get into this because it's not fun. I mean, nobody gets involved. If you go to any meetings, on average, county commissioners meetings, there's 2, maybe 3 people there. Most of the time it's me.
Ed.
And Fred Kane.
Yeah.
And same thing with like the selectmen's meetings. There's, you know, on average, a couple people there. So I'd like to see more people get involved. You know, if I saw more people get involved and they decided to run and I thought, hey, that'd be the good person, I would vote for them, but I don't see it. And, you know, I want to stay involved. I think I'm the right person for this position.
Bobbi, go ahead. A little intro.
I'm with you. This is my first time doing this. And I think Dallas and I both have the history of being, you know, at our meetings, being upfront, being present, and being local in our communities. And I think that's really important moving forward to make sure that we are focused locally. I'm not running for a federal office. I'm running for a local office. This has nothing to do with the overall country. This has to do with Wolfboro, Tufton Borough, Ossipee. How do we represent them at the delegation level? How do we represent our whole county overall? For me, I sort of jumped into this. Let me give you my background first, Bobbi Boudman, and I grew up in Holyoke, Mass, probably one of the most poverty-stricken cities in Massachusetts. Did not grow up in a healthy lifestyle, I'll put it that way, food insecurity, home insecurity. So my background was really, had a lot of upheaval in it. Moved away, got a career started, took me 12 years to get a degree, and then got a master's after that. And was working and then decided that I wanted to be a mom and left my career, kicked back, and realized that my husband and I, that we wanted to raise our child with snow and the way we were raised here in New England. My husband's from northern Maine, and we loved New Hampshire. My mother-in-law was a teacher, school teacher here in New Hampshire in Laconia. She lived in Laconia, and came back home,
right.
and after I got here, just threw myself into nonprofits and volunteering, and really got embedded in the community, and have truly been an introvert until COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, sort of chaos unrolled in our community, and I stepped in. There just was so much divisiveness and turmoil, and I just would go to the school board meetings and say, can we all be kind? Can we all talk? Can we all get along? And
so
just made me get
that's
to the
a
mic.
good. I think it's safe to say neither of you two guys are too shy with this. So this is good. If this is your first time on this, you're doing great. So there's a ton of state issues, and Damon, anytime you want to chime in. I was going to start though with saying, are there any? And I know the state issues also reflect the local issues too, town issues. But is there anything specific that would be is on your agenda that would affect the three towns on a state level? Dallas, what issues?
Specifically,
Yeah.
there's there's quite a few issues. And I know me and Bobbi don't agree on certain things, and I will say the EFA accounts, I think they're not a bad thing. I know she's opposite of that.
Since we bring it up, why don't we just head into this is talking about the education freedom
That's
accounts. Some people call them vouchers.
Vouchers, right.
So the idea with that, if I can set it up, I think this is true, is that when it started, whenever it started 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, it was really, it's about school choice, but it really was targeted towards low-income people, 5 years ago. And that's when the budget for it was like $1 million. And in the last session, basically they removed the any sort of income standard for it, so anybody can apply, and that is ballooned to like $50 million.
51.6 million.
51.6, so the critics say that one is that 85% of the people who are in the program had not sent their kids to public schools anyway, and then the big question is, Dallas, is that why should taxpayers pay money when it's not controlled into private schools, into religious schools, when there's really not a whole lot of accountability.
Well, let's go back to why do they need them in the first place?
Need what?
The freedom accounts. Why are people asking for them? Why are people asking for the choice in schools? Does it go back to COVID when they blocked everybody off, when they started putting kids in spaces where they had a film between them, where they made them all stay home, where they put them on Zoom? And as far as the money goes, granted, the school keeps like 75% of the money or more. They might send their kid to this school, but the state only pays $7,000. I believe it's $7,000. The rest of the money stays with the school, and a lot of them are like $35,000. I think the lowest one is Effingham, and I think they only pay $17,000. So all that money, even if the student's not there, still stays with the school. And then they take up, and a lot of times they do take up the students that are a problem for the regular public school. Now, whether people agree with it or not, I think that people have a right to choose where they want to send their kid to be educated.
But that's and I'm going to push back a minute. I know Bobby's going to say all this, but I guess
I'm sure she will.
I'm sure she will. But I guess what I just don't fundamentally. I mean, nobody's saying school choice is not an issue. Anybody can send their kid wherever and homeschool them. So it's really about the taxation. Like, why should taxpayers' dollars fund private schools and religious schools?
So I don't know, why should somebody who doesn't have kids pay taxes for schools? I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that don't have children or homeschool their kids already and still pay for schooling.
All right,
And
so
none of those people are counted into your equation. I mean, those people still pay for it, but they don't use it.
no, I agree with that. I mean, that's a broad concept. We don't use the military either, but we all pay for it, and some people don't
Right.
drive on the roads. But
Right.
so there's a social contract about those things. Bobby,
Yes.
go ahead.
So homeschool mom here, homeschooled my son. This is about, if we want to talk about taxes, which is probably my biggest thing. Taxes, taxes, taxes. Our local taxes. What is being downshifted?
But you
onto our
homeschooled
local
your kids,
taxes?
but you're against the voucher program.
I homeschooled my child for a few years. My child also went to the public school. He also went to co-op school. We had a myriad of things growing up for him. He had very differentiated learning. I am not essentially against a school voucher. A school voucher that is implemented properly. A school voucher that isn't putting $51.6 million onto our education trust fund, just pulling it out. OSIP, if we just look at OSIP, and I'm going to talk about OSIP, last year they received an adequacy grant from SWEPT funds of $2.8 million.
What's that? What's SWEPT funds?
So SWEPT funds is our statewide education property taxes.
Okay.
We all pay it. So it's supposed to be $1.22 per thousand. But the wealthier towns, because they have more property, now wealth is about property, they have more property than they have students, will need less money for those students. If you take a town like Ossipee, they have more students than they have property wealth. So they get a grant from the state that comes from the Education Trust Fund. In 24, you guys got 2.8 million. In 25, you got 2.3 million.
Okay.
You've already lost $500,000 because the funding that's in the Education Trust Fund is being depleted and sent to these schools. The problem I have is how this was all implemented. Our revenue, so you understand our revenue from our lottery stores, our lottery and our liquor stores. So Ossapee's liquor store, they make about $3 million. Wolfboro, we have about 4 million. That together, 7 million. That 7 million is not coming back to our towns in that liquor revenue. We had a contract that liquor, lottery, all that revenue was supposed to go back to education. And we're not seeing that. That is downshifted onto the property taxpayer. The biggest problem with this education freedom account, these vouchers, is our money leaves our education trust fund and goes to a New York company, New York, to the Children's Scholarship Fund. They immediately take 10% off the top. They send it to Florida to a class wallet, then sends it back to New Hampshire. We're losing 10% right off the top, and we cannot audit 1 penny of it. That fundamentally is against our New Hampshire constitutional rights. We have the right to audit our own money, our own revenue.
I mean, we don't have the audit with the company who handles the 10% company in New York?
We are not allowed to audit them.
Okay, Dallas.
It is a non-profit. It is not being run by our state. If this program was being run by our state, you and I mean, you as journalists would be in there finding out where all this money's going. The little tidbits we have, you know, it's going to Amazon, it's going for ski program, it's going for karate.
Okay, help me out here. And Dallas is going to obviously respond, but when you say the auditing, is that auditing just that company or auditing where the money goes when it goes to the families?
Auditing that money when it goes first to that company and then when it comes back into the state. And the reason they send it out of state first is because our Constitution strictly forbids this funding to go for religious schools under Article 6. So we have a New Hampshire Constitution, and we should be following it. And I'm a constitutionalist, strict constitutionalist here. And when you're doing something like that, we need to make sure that we're following our Constitution. And that is what I'm saying, is we have to augment these laws to give journalists, to give you the right to go in
So
there.
would you be, okay, let's just let Dallas respond.
Well, okay, I'm not sure I'm following all of that, and I understand your point to an extent. I mean, but there's nothing that would go through the state that wouldn't go through the OLS. They would figure out whether or not we can do this or not.
The OLS can you do?
The Office of Legal Services.
You mean OLA?
OLA.
Yeah.
Yeah, OLA. Yes. So they would actually, if that was the case, and we weren't allowed to do this, we would find that out long before this ever even made it to the floor. They would say, hey, you can do this or you can do this, but you're not allowed to do that. As far as auditing, there's a lot of things that are not audited. There's a lot of nonprofits that are not audited in this state, so we can't just pick out one. As far as education, I still believe that people have a right to choose.
But they do. I mean, you always say that, and I'm not trying to take sides here, but literally people, it's not preventing people to choose. It's just whether they're subsidized.
You're worried about the money end of it, and it's not like they're getting a lot of this money. They're only getting $7,000 out of a $35,000 bill. The rest of it's going to the school district. Same with any other school area. So every town has a certain portion that they pay. Depends on how much their, like you said, how much their tax base is for the town. About what's their valuation. And that's how these people get their money. This is a touchy subject, and I probably need to know a little bit more about it. But I don't think that it's wrong for the towns or the state to say, yes, we're going to give you this money.
What about the separation of church and state? I mean, that's kind of fundamental.
Yeah, that is fundamental as far as church and state. But who's saying that these are all religious schools?
I'm not saying they all aren't,
Well,
but I know there's a lot.
You're saying but you're bringing it up like they are, and nobody's saying they are.
Well, the 4 top payments actually are going to to religious
Well, you know.
schools.
Well, you don't know that, though.
Well, we do know that.
I think so. I mean, I think it is true.
Can we try a different topic?
Well, no, let's just finish this. I mean, we can go. But anyway, so we should wrap this up.
Yeah. Can I just say one more thing about it? So when we opened up to universal school vouchers, and we opened this up, and I'm going to take Wolfboro as an example, and Brewster Academy's been there for 200 years, so this isn't in any way going to make Brewster Academy more solvent or less solvent. Those children go there, and it is $72,000 a year. That is almost $20,000 more than the median income that the working class person in Wolfboro makes, a female. A male makes 55, a woman makes 42, about 42, 45. So you're asking me, quite honestly, because that's my pay range, you're asking me to support my neighbor who has enough money to send their child to a school that costs $72,000 a year. We literally have children sleeping at posh private schools where their families can afford it, and we downshifted that money, and we're not using $100,000 now for warming shelters. So our children who are unhomed are sleeping in cold cars while rich kids get to sleep at private schools. I have a fundamental problem with that.
All right, so Dallas, why don't you go ahead? Last word.
Well,
I guess.
yeah.
And I guess
this is, like I said, this is a touchy subject. I mean,
no, it is, but I guess I'm also curious as a conservative, because I'm conservative in many ways personally, but I just don't understand this idea of public money going to religious schools.
Well, first of all, you guys are making this claim, but nobody's proven that it's religious schools. Okay,
Well,
they have to follow state and federal guidelines. No matter what school you go to, there's still rules. It's not like they just, here, we're going to send it to this church down the street and they're going to do this. That's not what's happening.
But they're going to religious schools, fundamentally. They are. Christian schools.
Okay, I think
give Dallas another.
I'm getting beat up by both of you here in this conversation, and
I'm just asking.
I know you're asking, but you're not. You're stating something that is not an actual fact. You don't. All of these schools can't just say, "Hey, we're religious, and we're gonna bring you in, and we're gonna take the money as a religious organization." They're doing it as a school that teaches a certain thing. They teach the regular, basic classes that people People want to see something different than the education system that we have. It's an indoctrination system through the public school system right now. And they don't like it. They don't like the way it's been run.
Right.
It's still the same subjects. It's not a religious one way or another. It's just a school. It's just a school that teaches things differently than the actual public school is teaching it.
Okay.
It's not. They're not saying, "Hey, we're going to teach you about Judaism, or we're going to teach you Christianity, or we're going to teach you Islam." They're not doing that. They're teaching the subjects.
But they really, I mean, I don't, but I mean, not to debate it, but it really is true, Dallas. Like one of them's, and I can't remember the names, and Bobby's going to know, it's like the Christian blah blah school.
Concord Christian
Concord
Academy,
Christian
that's one of the top ones.
Right.
Yeah.
So and they do receive money.
I think we've
Yeah.
burned like 20 minutes.
Okay,
on this
so
one.
you-
But anyway,
Okay. Okay.
Damon's the time.
yeah, I think the biggest story in the country right now is
Okay.
ICE, and the towns like Ospey
Okay,
are
good question.
working with ICE, and the county has the possibility of having the jail facility. It's been talked about; it hasn't really gone anywhere. Be connected with ICE. Do you guys generally have a thought on ICE and how New Hampshire should respond to ICE, or the towns should respond to ICE, and if there's any legislation needed, or anything of that nature?
Well, I know Bobby's feeling on this, but
Go
my
ahead.
feeling is I
don't
totally
think you know
support
my
it.
feeling.
I totally support it. I totally support them bringing, working with ICE. I totally support them, trying to bring this immigration issue that we have to some kind of resolution, because we do have a issue. Started out as a refugee, turned it into a bunch of illegals, and the illegals, when you cross into somebody else's country, undeclared, unannounced, and most of them are on our welfare system, and you're worried about the school system. Our welfare system is getting robbed. I have no worried about the housing issue. Most of our housing is getting taken by people that are coming here illegally. I have no problem with ICE going around and saying, "Hey, you're not supposed to be here. Go back, do it the proper way. Come back across the border the right way. Don't just jump the border and think you're okay." I could not do that. You could not. Nobody in this room could do that in another country. Could not do it. So why are we allowing it here? And so I'll leave it at that, because I'm sure this will go on for another 20 minutes.
Go ahead, Bobby.
So again, local. When we downshift those costs onto our local property taxes, and we work for the Fed and we pay for federal programs, where does it come out of? We're all paying a county tax. So should we be paying for federal programs, or should we be paying for our local programs? We're already paying for our local town police. We're already paying for our sheriff's department at the county level. Now you want to burden the taxpayers at a local level to start paying for federal programs?
We already pay for those.
I think that this, at the federal level, you're right. So why do we want to double pay for that
We're not double paying for anything. We already pay for that stuff.
Are you done?
Yes.
Thank
I'll
you.
let
All right,
go.
I got another one if
So-
you want to move on.
No, can I just finish on this? So there is no doubt. I have stood up at a county commissioner meeting and had pointed this out. If we look at the statistics in New Hampshire, we actually have more New Hampshire people who are undocumented in Canada than we have people in our own community undocumented. The problem is it goes back to the Constitution. Are we doing this by the Constitution? Are we doing it constitutionally? Mm-hmm. If someone has a criminal record, do I want them deported? Absolutely. If someone is in our community and we are not expending funds in any way and they get pulled over, our regular police are going to know, and then they transfer them. We have had a proper system to do this for years and years. This is just another one of those, let's hype it up, but we're harming real people in this. We're harming our American citizens, and that's what's dangerous.
Okay, so let's leave that, because we could talk about good forever, so we won't even go there.
Can we,
So,
can we ask about short-term rentals?
Sure, let's go.
Short-term rentals, what do you think?
Boy, that's another touchy subject, because a lot of people don't like them.
Right.
you know, I believe that people have a right, if they have a piece of property, to be able to rent their piece of property. It's, you know, some people say, well, you know, it's a burden on the neighbors. You know, the neighbors don't like, well, because there's always a different group of people coming in. You know, this is one of those subjects where you could go either way with it. I personally think that people have a right to rent out their piece of property if they own it. They own it outright. You know, of course, in this country, you don't own anything because your property taxes are rent. Okay, so you rent your place already. So, you know, as far as short-term rentals, I'm in agreement with people being able to rent out their property without having a hard time about it.
Do you see
If they become a problem, if they're, you know, if they're people that they're renting to become a problem, they have the option to be able to call the police department, to call somebody and say, hey, this has become a problem, or to go to their local boards and say, listen, this has become a problem with this particular place. What can we do about it? They have options to do that. You know,
I mean, some people say that if you don't have short-term rentals, that's going to help the housing situation because it would free up more housing. I mean, I think the other side is that most of these houses or homes are second homes and expensive, and this probably wouldn't be owned by local. But do you see a distinction between someone having a right to rent their property, whatever, you know, a few months a year, versus someone who just buys a property in a residential community and basically turns it into a hotel?
Well, turning it into a hotel is a whole different story. But
I mean, using it as a hotel.
Yeah. So we've already got that problem with a lot of places. Like big corporations already do that. They buy residential homes there, and right now they're on track to own 60% of the residential homes, large corporations, and they're going to rent them back to everybody. So, seeing a problem, yeah, there's a problem there. Now, whether or not people like it or not is another story. A lot of people don't like a lot of things. But if you own it, you bought it, you put your money out, and you said, okay, well, I'm going to rent it out for a while. Maybe a few years from now, I'm going to live in that spot.
All right. So the summary is that you support. I mean, you're okay with the STRs.
I am.
Yeah,
I am okay.
And Bobby?
Summary.
Local, local, local. Again, the state is trying to tell us at a local level what to do. There is not a one-size-fits-all plan for this. I'm going to talk about Wolfboro because it's easiest for me to talk about it. But for example, I live in a section of the woods where people pass by my house and they own little cottages down on the shoreline. Their family, for generations and generations, have needed the income of renting out their cottages to help pay for property taxes and everything else. The problem becomes when you have one tiny little residential home and 40 people are in it. What is it doing to the septic tank? What is it doing to the lake?
So we know all
what
those
is it
problems.
doing?
So how
That's
do you,
right.
How do you stand on it?
So in Wolfboro, when we look at it, one of our biggest, when we transfer to housing, one of our biggest issues actually is more of the second and third homes, because they're coming up and they're buying those first-time homes. You know, those homes that people buy for like 5 years and then flip over and they move out and the next young family moves in. They're buying them and they're building them up. And they're increasing the size of them. And then those houses actually stay in their families for generations and generations. So how do we get back to a place where more of those first home time buyer homes are brought into the market in actually Tuftonboro, Wolfboro, and
Okay, so how does that, I'm just going to try to get to the, understand about the STR piece, because obviously even little cottages on the lake,
yes,
obviously they're really expensive, and that's let the market do what it's going to do, and people buy them, tear them down, put up big houses. I think people have a right to do that. I'm trying to understand where that goes with the STR
So
piece.
the problem with short-term rentals, many of them that people are coming in and they're building the short-term rentals into our residential areas.
They're purposely building these things for short-term.
You put two things together, the housing and so I was combining them. But going back to short-term rentals, when we look at what's happening with the short-term rentals, is they're buying into residential districts. And then they're running them like hotels. So I do believe that towns have the right to regulate. Is this a residential district? Is this a business district? If it's a residential district, yes, let the short-term rental be there. But they should have to comply with all the laws that the inns comply with. Do they have proper fire extinguishers? Do they have proper fire egress? Do they have appropriate parking for the number of people there? Can the town septic handle it? Can sewage handle it? Can their septic tank?
Okay, so
in
you
that
agree. So you agree that we should have control on STRs at that
local-
level, but
at the
it has
local
to be
level.
local. Okay,
It
so what?
has to be local. Every town is different.
Okay,
Dallas, is
is there anything more to say?
is there anything more to say than
I
that?
think.
Well, I mean, I think that's pretty much the same thing I said, except because it comes back to you have the option at your town to do things.
Yeah, that's-
And that's it. I believe that's what I said.
Yeah, local.
Maybe a few less words,
Yeah,
but
so, okay,
I did
so
say
let's-
the
I
same
got, I
thing.
got another one, just real quick.
Okay.
So the town of Conway has long wanted a $2 tax on hotel room stays. So like if I rented a hotel room for 5
Yeah,
days,
it's
it'd be
$2 fee on hotel rooms.
$10.
Yes.
And so Conway, the idea would be Conway has a lot of tourists, and it's only a town of 10,000. So the rooms and meals tax money is coming in from hotels and restaurants around the state, and then it comes back on a population basis, but it only has 10,000 people.
Yes.
So Conway doesn't get its fair share. So it wants this $2 fee and then use it to augment the budgets of, say, the police and the fire, because we need all this extra
Services.
town services to meet the demand. What say you?
I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that's a great idea because it is a tourist economy. $2 fee is nothing for most tourists to come at. That's part of their trip, part of their adventure to come here. I also think that you guys put a casino in, and a lot of that money some of that money should be coming to the same thing. So I have no problem with that. I think that's a great idea. I would
Bobby,
much rather see you do that than try to tax second homes at a higher rate.
Okay, because that's the other piece of that. And Bobby, I'm sure you're going to be fine with the fees, the $2 fees.
Well, it's an impact fee, and we have impact
Right.
fees on other
Yeah.
things. We have, when someone comes and bills, they have an impact fee for the schools. There's other impact fees. I will say, if you look at our district, one of our biggest impact right now are ambulance services. So should all of the elderly homes that are being built up have also an impact fee. So you just have to decide what is impacting your local community, and that's something that I think impacts Wolfboro, impacts Tuftonboro,
Sure.
Conway,
Yeah.
Ossipee. I think we all have that.
Okay, so someone's talking about taxes, and the Conservatives, actually, that was a bill for that $2 fee was shot down in the House.
Yeah.
And interestingly, even though I think we all agree here that it's just a $2 fee, it did, because it was considered a tax by the Republican majority, it just it failed. So that's nice to hear that if you're there, Dallas, that you'll.
I mean, okay, and I've said this before, I don't always agree with everything they do
Well,
at the state level. So I'm here as a Republican, on the Republican
Sure.
side. But I agree as far as the town level, for you guys, that's nothing. You guys probably need it.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to hear that. It's refreshing to hear someone who doesn't go along with the party line all the time.
Well,
So that's good.
maybe they'll hurt me. I don't know. I hope not.
So, but on taxation, I mean, the state budget is under duress right now. Partly because of a little less revenue, but also because we've eliminated some of the taxes. So I guess I'll start with you, Dallas, because they eliminated the interest and dividends tax, which was brought in $160 million, and really was only the people who can afford. People have enough money to pay interest and dividends that they receive more than $2,500. Basically, wealthy people, and I think it was like 1,500 people who paid half the tax in all of New Hampshire. And then we're reducing, I think, in this session, the BET tax, which most businesses bigger than $300,000 gross revenue, they have to pay on their employees, and that's going down from 0.55 to 0.5%, I think. So how do you? I mean, what do you think about the taxation, and particularly the interest and dividends?
I mean, I'm not for taxes. I would like to see all taxes lowered. As a matter of fact, I used to think, well, okay, taxes are theft. I mean, but you read the Constitution and it says, well, they're allowed to tax. So they are allowed to tax. I do consider them theft a lot of times, especially nonprofits. They tend to, there tend to be a lot of them. But as far as the interest and dividend tax, I don't think that they're wrong. I think that they're trying to lower taxes on everybody, and maybe they don't get it right all the time, but they're trying to do something. And as far as The other taxes, you know, it's a matter of, okay, how can we help businesses to expand or get bigger and reduce some of the burden on them? And not saying everything's right and everything, but I'm not. I do agree that we don't need as many taxes as we have, and it's all about revenue because you want to get this revenue from a certain group. Once again, I'll go back to why you want to put a tax on second homes. It's the same idea. You want to add extra money to them. They already pay taxes. It's not like they're not paying taxes. It's just an extra tax that they just want to, hey, give them some relief on this. That's all it is to me.
Okay, Bobby? Taxing?
So, revenue. Proper word to use, revenue. So when we get rid of that revenue stream, what does that downshift to? Our property taxes. Everything is circling back to our property taxes. And the people who are most hurt by that are the working class. And are we going to keep downshifting these costs onto and fees are going up? How many fees just went up? 90? We had 90 fees go up because we've eliminated the I&D and we've eliminated these other taxes. The other problem is when you were talking about your money coming back to you for meals and rooms tax, last year we had to work to keep that coming back to us.
When you say that we, what are you meaning?
Meaning the citizens. We had to rise up and say our towns deserve to get that meals and rooms tax because Concord was going to keep more of that funding. That money should come back to us, and you're right, it's coming back to us per
disproportionately.
Yeah.
Right.
And how is that fair when your town, when Tufton Borough, when Wolfboro, when Ossipee, we're generating more than we're getting back, and the state's going to keep it. So that number for the state is just going to keep leaving our pockets and going into theirs, which then we're not going to have that revenue.
So the short of it is that you don't agree with the elimination of the interest and dividends tax.
Well, I think it's another way of downshifting it onto the working class, and I think we're bleeding here. I think the working class, how much can you put on us on our tax bill? And you're right, taxes are a necessary evil. We need our roads plowed. We need our sheriff's department. We need these things in place. But how do you pay for it? We can have that conversation of how you pay for it. I do believe that there has to be a revenue stream, but I believe we're not using our revenue stream accurately.
Okay. So
Sorry, can I
go ahead, no, go ahead.
do you think the state has a spending problem at all? Either one of you, I'm not sure who goes
Does
first.
the state have a spending problem?
Yes.
Yeah, on certain things they do. But I want to go back to most of our property tax bill goes to schools. I mean, 60 to 70% of our property tax bill goes to schools. So it's not like it's other things, it's the schools. Anybody want to control the schools? Anybody want to figure out why they're spending so much money? Anybody want to try to figure that out?
Yeah, we've
I know we've been
try.
over this subject, but we want to lower our property tax. Let's find out why the schools are spending so much money. How come we're not allowed to find out what the administration spends? We can't, they don't have to. They don't have to put. We can, but they don't have to put their record out there.
I mean, certainly talking about local school budgets is a whole nother thing.
Right,
And
right.
in Conway, I think I wouldn't say this. The majority of people in Conway think, anyway, that we spend too much money in public schools because they've voted for the default budget the last 2 years. So let's put out, it's a
And
general sense.
We could go over an hour probably talking about the schools.
Exactly. We're not the school budgets.
Well, we also could talk, if you want to talk about that, we have an education trust fund. It's not being adequately funded down at our town level. $51.6 million again was just paid for private schools. Pennies add up. Pennies add up.
understand, but you're making pennies into something it's not.
$51.6 million is not pennies when you're talking about that could be downshifted to our towns.
That's one school budget.
Just paid.
That's one school budget.
Ossipee just paid another $500,000 that you got taken out of your swept aid.
So how much was the whole school budget for Governor Wembley?
Last year,
Yeah, it was a lot.
Do you know what it was?
It was over 60 million.
it was 55,
Okay,
and we're
it
splitting
was
that.
closer to that, but still, that's one.
But
we're
we're
talking
split-
about one school district in the
That's
whole
right.
state.
and I would love for the state to up their adequacy aid grant. I think we can all agree that we want the state to have our revenue.
Let's move on.
We're definitely not going to agree on
I
that.
was thinking we could just, walk out and you guys turn off the lights when you're done.
Okay.
All right, so what about, it brings into a question about state control and the role of the state. And one thing that just was shot down actually in the session already was the ability, there's legislation that would cap school spending from the state.
Yes.
And so I think that, as I was saying about Conway, I think a lot of people would sense, yeah, let's cap the school spending, but it really flies in the face of local control.
Yep.
So, Bob, you start with that first.
Great.
I mean, you think there should have been? Do you think there should be state control over local school budgets? That's the question.
So I think that if you look at just the history of the last 13, 14 years, people started calling these government schools when we stopped looking at our schools for what they really are. These are our community schools. These are our community friends who work in our community schools as teachers. The more we have created government control over them in Concord, the less we have local control. The less we have local control, the more we're complying with the state laws and the state codes and everything else. We're paying more in legal fees, we're paying more in making sure that we're fighting back against bills that harm our children, our teachers. We do have to get back to a local place, and the more Concord gets involved and says, you have to do this, you have to do this. I mean, they're trying to take over actual control of our schools. There's a bill to take over control of our schools. I do believe
when you say there's a bill to take over, I mean, I know there was one that was defeated about putting a cap on school budgets.
No, there's actually a bill that the state can come in and take over your school district
not
too.
familiar with that one, but.
This is, we're the citizens in this district. We should have a right and we should have a say. And it just seems like we keep being usurped along the way by Concord, where they keep going, whoa, now we need you to do this, now we need you to do that. And it's not necessarily what's good for every town or every community.
All right, so, okay, it's good. So
Yeah.
Dallas, what say you on state control over school
Well,
budgets
I
or
mean,
cap?
the state's going to have to do something here shortly anyway, because I think the federal Department of Education needs to go away. And it's probably going to go away. And the state's going to have no choice but to do something. As far as local control, I think that we should get rid of school districts and turn them back into local control. Because what happened is all these towns, they built little schools. Okay, we got our schoolhouse and we have this, and the town paid for it originally. Then, okay, well, the government regulations came along and said, oh, well, it got cost prohibitive. Okay, so they couldn't keep up with it. And so they said, okay, well, we're going to combine our two towns, and then we're going to combine our three towns. The next thing you know, you have this district. Well, this district is a town to itself. It doesn't have to answer to the rest of the people. They just do their own thing. They are a town. But who paid for it? Who paid for each one of them schools? Who paid for those buildings? It was the local people in those towns that paid for them. But they have no control over them anymore. The school district has control over them. The school district goes out and says, okay, well, we have all this property. Well, let's go get a loan for this. And then now all the towns say, okay, well, we agree, not knowing really how much they're in for. There's no local control already.
Well, it depends on who's, I mean, you're talking about sending towns, right?
Right.
Who have less
Right,
control.
have
But
less
obviously,
control, right.
here in Conway, and I think in
We have a
Wolfboro,
different system in Wolfboro than we do in
Right.
Conway.
Right, yeah, it's a little bit different. But regardless, it doesn't matter. Somebody's going to have to do something at some point, especially if they get rid of the federal Department of Education. Because right now, they go by federal Department of Education rules. State says, this is what they tell us. State passes it on to the school district. And it's all controlled through upper levels as it is. I personally think local control over the schools would be much better because they would probably get a better education. Common Core was the worst thing that ever happened.
Right. So do you think, I guess I'm not clear then, do you think you would support the state legislation that was going to cap school spending?
As far as capping it?
Without without a supermajority, you couldn't increase it X amount.
Well, I mean, okay, so if it's a 2/3 majority and you can increase it, that's fine.
Right.
It's no different than any of our zoning laws or anything like that. It's still a 2/3 majority.
So you would support- I
it's
guess I'm just asking-
same thing as Congress, same thing as
So I'm just
everything else.
asking whether you would support the concept of a state mandated cap on school spending
With the 2/3 override.
with the supermajority.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Okay,
I would.
okay, that's good.
Okay,
That's good.
I'll give you a direct answer. Yes,
Can I
I
just
would.
make a quick comment
Sure.
about our community? So our community
And you
does,
say what's your community?
our
Governor
school
Wentworth.
district, our
Okay.
community, Ospey, Wolfboro, Tuftonboro, our community gets together, and when we look at how we get together, we do really great things. We create tech centers, and speaking as a mom of a child who has a tech degree and he's already 21 and launched into the world because of having that tech degree. You guys just got a new tech school up here. We have our technical center at GWRSD, and other towns come to it. Molten Borough comes to it. Prospect Mountains comes to it. It's not just our district, but more districts are buying into it. So students from outside come into this, and those are the great things that we do when we bring community together, is we're able to offer our children more. And that's why we band together as a district.
Okay.
One question I'm kind of dying to ask. You two, particularly Dallas, sort of became well known to me during the COVID years. And I wanted to know, what did the state do right and what did the state do wrong during the COVID years?
Oh boy.
If there's
I mean, we only have 10 minutes to go
right,
back.
or maybe just
that's just gone. That's kind of old history.
This is a touchy subject.
Yeah. And since it's gone, why don't we put that one on
Okay.
ice if that's okay?
Sure.
So you're in Ospey, right?
I am.
So what's the biggest issue that you think faces Ospey?
Okay, well, I mean, Ospey is a community. Right now, we have issues as far as, well, you guys just wrote an article the other day, I think it was yesterday, about the boardwalk issue.
Yeah.
That could be a lawsuit for the town. I really do not want to see the town getting sued over something as foolish as, hey, let's not make these people do something we just forced these other people to do. I was there in the meeting. I didn't understand why they did what they did, and I disagree with it. That's going to be a big issue. You know, and that's just one of the things. Ospey is actually a great little town. I don't find too many issues wrong with Ospey. They usually try to settle things out themselves. They work through it. If people disagree with things, you know, they go to a meeting. They go to the town meeting, and the town will show up. They will show up. I've noticed that. Now, I think the biggest issue right now is going to be that one, because it could lead to some
ADA,
lawsuits.
this is the whole
the
boardwalk for
right,
McCon-
because it could
yeah.
lead to some lawsuits, and it could lead to, you know, problems for the town. You know, other than that, the town really doesn't have
So
any
I know we're
major
getting a little
issues.
granular here, but since you're in Wolfboro,
Well, I don't think the boardwalk's a big issue. I think Edwina was very clear that she said put up some handrails.
Right, in
It's,
essence.
it's fine.
What's the
End
biggest
of
issue in
story.
Wolfboro? I mean, what about the Libby
Well, let me
Museum?
talk about Ospey. I think the biggest issue in Ospey right now, when we look at it, we're looking at a fractured community based on, again, property taxes, but we have more unhomed people in Ospey than the other two towns.
homeless.
Homeless
that-
people.
okay.
Yes. Well, so there's a little bit of a difference, because when you're unhomed, it means, you know, maybe a child sleeping at a grandparent's house one night and then an aunt's house another, and then so they're bouncing around too. So it's a little bit
Okay.
different
Okay.
than homeless.
Okay.
So, and we have to look at it as more of an unhomed issue than a homeless issue. We still have a homeless issue, but unhomed is still part of the problem. So Ospey has disproportionately higher food insecurity, so that's an issue also up there. Electric rates, big issue for Tuftonboro and Ospey. Wolfboro is on its own MED, Municipal Education Electric Department. So the issues in the three towns are a little bit different. Wolfboro, Libby, is that the thing in the news with all of us?
Yeah.
I would say that is definitely in the news with all of us. Like the other towns, we've had two defaults in a year, 2 years in a row in Wolfboro. I sit on the budget committee there. Getting our budget committee to be a cohesive unit sometimes isn't easy. I know this is going to shock you. I'm the most fiscally conservative person on my budget committee,
shocked.
making the most cuts in my town. And the more conservative Republicans on my board vote against me when I make cuts. So I see it very different, and I don't know if it's because I grew up more in that situation where I saw what it was like not to have food, not to have housing, not to have those things, and have those bills, and have the oil not show up, and have a cold home. And I think all three of our towns have people who we need to have real, honest conversations. If we can afford to spend money over here, are we doing the right thing for the people who need it over here? And I think that's probably a really good question to ask, and what Concord needs to start focusing on.
Okay, so we only have like 7 or 8 minutes to go.
Wow.
I know.
That was quick.
Well, we could go for another 2
I
hours.
know,
with you
we
guys.
could. We probably could.
So we can just turn to politics for a minute. I mean, local politics. You're racist, and so Bobbi, just to remind everybody, you don't have a primary challenge. So challenge.
I do not, but I will tell you that I have a lot of Republican friends, and they will be writing me in on the Republican
wait a minute.
ballot.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear
If we're
about that.
doing Republican write-ins.
Okay, so, but Dallas, you've got the. I mean, you've got. I know Seamus has already said he doesn't want people voting for
Yeah,
him.
so did you receive any letter? Because I
Yeah.
heard this story, but I
Yeah,
never
we got a
received it.
letter.
No,
Oh,
we
okay, you
published
did
it
receive
actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we published it. But so I'm just asking you, because you have a primary challenge, like why do you think voters on the Republican side should vote for you more than Dale
because,
and Jenna?
Well, first of all, I met Dale and Jenna last night, actually. They were together, and they were actually, going out and stomping. Like, they want to try to get the votes. I'm the only one that's been there. As Bobbi can attest, I've been to a lot of meetings. I've been on the other side of these issues with her in groups at county commissioners meetings. I go to all the selectmen's meetings. Like I said in the beginning, I think anybody that wants to get in and try to do something, I'm all for it. I think that putting any foot into the race is great, because we don't have enough people involved in what's going on. And if we had more people involved, like they're supposed to be, because this is the People's Republic, not a democracy, okay, then that would be great. I want them to be involved. Personally, I think I'm the right person because I've been involved, because I've been here, I've been in the town, got involved, been to all of the meetings everywhere. Neither one of them has done that.
Does it make any difference to you that they were? I mean, the reason why people are probably wondering, what the heck? Why are they not on the ballot?
Right.
But they weren't on the ballot because they were neither of them were registered.
Right.
Which means they didn't vote.
That's
in their
right.
local
That makes
elections.
a difference to me too. And I did bring that up. Now I will say, I'm not sure where Dale said he came from Exeter. And how did he end up here? and nothing against anybody. Like I said, I would gladly, have anybody step in the race if they're from here, if they put in some work. I put in the work. I've already put in the time. I've been there. I've been in the trenches, let's say. They haven't done either one of those, and they're probably great people. They probably have great ideas, but I don't particularly think they represent my district, my area, where I've come from. And I wanted to, as I said before, I'm not just representing Ossipee, Tuftonboro, Wolfboro. I'm representing Carroll County as a whole, and then it goes to the state. And it's not, I don't like the fact that they came in out of nowhere and have done no work, okay? But I will not fault them for getting into the race. I think that everybody should at least try.
Okay. And Bobbi, the challenge you have, again, you have no primary challenge, so we have to wait. But because you ran against Cordelli. Mm-hmm. And it was, basically, it's, in Ossipee, all these towns are actually Republican, the conservative generally. Yes. I mean, you get the working class Ossipee who are Republicans, and you got the hoity-toity in Wolfboro who are Republicans, so you're up against it.
So why would I go from being an independent to a Democrat?
Right, because the last race was 5,095 to 3,871. That's like 20%. That's a big spread. Right. How are you going to?
Did it benefit me in 22 when I went from an independent to a Democrat? Did it benefit me on December 6th when I went from an independent to a Democrat? If you just look at numbers, could I have gone down and filed as a Republican? Maybe. Is it the right ticket? Would the party support me? You know, probably not. They probably wouldn't have supported me. I was primaried by the Democrats in the last election. They did put up a primary opponent against me. I am obviously socially very aware of taking care of our people. I am very libertarian with mind your own business. Like, you do not belong in someone else's business. And then I am fiscally conservative. So I'm very, when you have
How are you going to beat the, so is that your message then? Because how are you, basically you have to overcome all the Republicans.
Well, the message is I'm here doing the work. I'm not a tagline. When people say they care about the lake, well, what have you done for the lake? What have you worked at a nonprofit to protect our lakes? Have you sat on the New Hampshire Sierra Club? Are you aware of what data mining centers are going to do? Have you been there? Have you written warrant articles to protect our First Amendment rights? Have you written warrant articles to protect our local taxes? I mean, what have other people stepped up and actually done? It's one thing to complain about things. It's one thing to just show up one day.
But if you're going to be against Dallas in the
Yes.
general election, he's as local as you are, and he's done as much as local stuff
Well,
as you
he's
have.
not even a registered voter yet. So
No.
let's.
No, Dallas.
Oh, Dallas.
I'm right here.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to.
Sorry.
No, I wasn't talking about
Wrong person.
I didn't mean that. Sorry.
That's quite all
No,
right.
I was saying is that
Yeah.
what you're saying, I mean, both of you,
Yeah.
very commendable, are very
Yes.
involved with local politics and
Yes.
local government and all that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's not the issue. I mean, you could make that case
Well,
if
you-
Dale
you-
won, but I'm just saying
You
how.
can, but I've also done the work in Ossipee. I haven't just done the work in Wolfboro. When Ossipee schools needed a sub, I went there. I jumped in. When Ossipee Concerned Citizens needs help fundraising, I'm there helping fundraise. When the food bank comes, I'm there handing out food. And that's not just because I'm running. That's because I'm part of the community. I see our whole district as a district. My son's best friends are all in Ossipee. I mean, we're part of a larger community, and this isn't new for me. I've been a community member in this whole broad community for almost 2 decades. And I think the thing that helps me in this is that people know me. They know I'm there to help. They know that when they call me, I'll jump in. I'll come over. I'll give a hand. And I think that's the big issue.
Okay, and I think Bobbi, you've had a few more words in your closing statement
Sorry.
than Dallas. So if you want to
I
say
mean,
anything more, I think you said it well too.
I
Dallas.
mean, I was listening to that and I thought, well, okay, great. You stood for the First Amendment, because I remember standing up in front of the selectmen and say, this is the hill I'm going to die on, was the First Amendment. What do you feel about the Second Amendment?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
is that a real
Because
question? Okay.
that is a real
Okay,
question,
yeah, that's a
because
good question.
I think that it's a right. I mean, it's a right, a fundamental
Sure.
right of this country. And so I'm just wondering, if, like, how do you feel about that? Do you?
That's a good question. Okay, we should. This is actually we should have
That's
given you
great.
the opportunity to ask
That-
each other questions.
that's
So
great.
we'll go over a couple of minutes.
Sure.
First, Second Amendment
Sure,
question.
I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in everyone's right to have that right to the Second Amendment. But like all our amendments, you have responsibilities with them. So what is the responsibility of having your Second Amendment rights? That's all.
Okay.
I'm assuming Ed has his gun. That's great. I don't have an issue with that. I mean,
What about? Okay, I'm going to ask this question. What about the gun, the campus carry?
I'm,
you know-
I'm all for it.
Okay,
I think
you're for it.
I think that's a great idea, because it's a fundamental right. It's not something that was given to you by this country. The Constitution just protects it. That's all. It's yours right already. Okay, if you're an adult, which you're supposed to be adults, right? At a certain age, they're supposed to be adults. What's the problem? I think that a lot of these problems that they're having at these places probably could have been avoided if somebody was there to, fire back.
Yep. Okay. Point. Campus carry.
I have been to swim meets at UNH, and I have seen the parents sitting in the section at those swim meets. And I think that this goes back to,
Are you saying that parents are armed?
no,
okay.
I'm saying how heated it gets when one kid wins over
Oh, yeah, that. Well, I was,
another child.
I'd be more worried about
And-
drunken freshmen
and,
than parents. but-
Yeah,
you know,
well,
that would actually,
that could happen on the street.
that actually worries me a little less. I actually believe we have to get back to a place where, say, our Nordic skiing, we introduce more of the biathlon in. I think there was a point in our country where we had more education for.
I mean, about guns. You're saying
Yeah.
you bring biathletes
Yeah, there
because
was
they
a-
shoot.
There was
Yeah.
a point where
Okay.
the NRA was
All right,
about
so I'm going to
education.
cut that. I'm going to just cut that off. If you don't mind. So do you don't support? You do support the campus carry or no?
I believe the campus has the right, just as I believe
The campus has a right to decide.
to decide.
Okay, fair enough. Do you want to ask Dallas a question? Do you have anything?
No, I see Dallas at meetings.
Okay.
all the
I see
time.
Dallas, any more
at-
questions?
at,
No,
meetings,
all
All right, so
you
I think
know,
I think we'll wrap it
yeah.
up. You guys were well spoken, very comfortable, and I wish you both luck.
Thank you.
And
Thank
take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Damon.
And
I'm sure you'll see me again.
we have mugs.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh,
Yeah, I
good.
promised.
Thanks.